Okay, boys and girls, this week we are starting off with the book called Mattland. And so last time we had our lessons, we talked about maps and all sorts of things that you can put on maps, and you guys created your own maps. But we are going to focus this week on using our imagination and how we can use materials that aren't paper necessarily or aren't typical things that we would use in school to create special things. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Matt had moved 3 times with his family, and this was the worst place of all. There were no climbing trees, just scraggly pines. There was no one he knew, just houses with closed doors. There was barely any grass. Everywhere was mud and water. Across the wetness lay only scattered building scraps, a few rocks, and a stick. So he's just kind of thinking about how is he going to have fun in this new place that he just moved to. And I want you to focus on the color as we move along this book. So you can see that it's not very colorful yet, but his clothing is a little bit colorful. Matt picked up the stick. He felt like breaking it. He felt like throwing it. He felt like hitting something with it. But the stick felt comfortable in his hand. And instead, Matt drew a line in the mud. Rain had fallen that morning. The earth was full to overflowing, and the line filled with water. It was squiggly, like the lines on the map. Map. His parents showed him every time they moved. He gave the line a squiggly name. Snake River, he said. So we're kind of starting to get the feeling that he's going to create something that has to do with maps, and that's what I love about this book, is that he's being creative and using his imagination. And he's relating it to what he learned from moving every time, which is what his parents were doing by showing him all the maps. He connected the line to a puddle. The puddle was round in the middle and bumpy at the end. Turtle Lake, said Matt. And just for us that are interested in how this, whenever where there's a river, the rivers usually always come from a lake. So that's why he has the lake here, which is the big source of water, and then he's making the nice little stream right here, which I think is really cool. He moved some rocks into a jagged row. He could have named them the Rockies, like the real mountains, but he didn't. These peaks needed a name of their own. Dog-Tooth Mountains, he said. So he's using his own imagination to create all these names, which again is something that I love. And we're starting to see a little bit more color, and we can kind of make some guesses as to why there might be some more color now than there was at the beginning. A huge puddle became the far-off ocean, a great flat area where tufts of grass were trying to push upwards, became the buffalo grasslands. In between was a clump of earth that Matt had smoothed into a round hill. He stood on Old Baldy and looked down. Mattland, he said. And there is the title of our book, which we can kind of guess is now the name of his city that he just made from all of these pieces of nature. The scraps in the mud looked different now. Matt gathered them into a pile. He used a block of wood to smooth a winding ribbon down from the mountains. Far from home road, said Matt. Sticks became a farmhouse, a piece of tin, a barn. Fuzzy seeds became sheep in a pasture. He was just plucking a 7th sheep from his sock when he noticed something that had not been there before. An outsider had arrived in Mattland. She had not been invited. She had not asked if she could enter. For a long time, Matt stood looking at her. Finally, she reached out a hand. Resting in her open palm was a single popsicle stick. She handed it to Matt and walked away. So I want us as readers to be thinking about what he might use the popsicle stick for, because we know that he's used all these other kind of pieces to create this own little town of his outside. And now he is a little unsure of his new, what he calls as an outsider and what she has to offer. The stick became fence posts for Burberry Farm. The road began to wind along the water. Animal tracks appeared where the deer came to drink. Here and there, a hill was born. Culverts were needed to cross small streams. At Snake River, something larger was needed. So there you can see the popsicle sticks being used, and he's just kind of using whatever he can find. Again, outside, or maybe some recycled parts that he doesn't need anymore. Split Shingle Bridge was even better than he'd planned. Soon, tiny houses, stores, and a factory appeared along the shore, and the outsider was back with 4 pine cones and an empty berry container. So sometimes berries at stores come in these little containers, and it looks like the little girl who had come to give him the popsicle stick had brought some other things that they can use. So now he has not only a even more imaginative city, but he has a friend who is building along with him. Matt had been hoping the Turtle Lakers would have a baseball diamond on which to play. Behind the park, he planted prickly trees. The leftover bits made from an interesting pattern on Earth, and soon the Pine Needle railway line raced across the flats. So he's using pine needles right now, but to me they kind of look like toothpicks, which we're going to be talking about how you guys might be able to make your own kind of imaginative city using random parts, and I think toothpicks would be a really easy thing to use. This time, when the outsider returned, she needed both hands to hold all she had found. So she had found all of these random pieces just either around her house or maybe on the ground, and their city is becoming even more not only colorful, but has a lot more detail. The bones, weathered, clean, and white as wood, were buried for future explorers in the dinosaur Badlands. The broken key became a Mount Fang weather station. As you can see the broken key there. The flattened penny had become a landing pad for UFOs, just in case. Colored pebbles, bits of tile, and ends of string. Each found a place, just as the rain began to fall once more. Almost instantly, Snake River filled to overflowing. Culverts clogged with mud. A surge of water threatened the bridge. Matt and the outsider rushed to save things, but all was about to be lost when suddenly help arrived from unexpected places. Steadily they worked. Soon dams, dikes, and deep canals were guiding the water safely away. So all of these other, looks like children hands, had come in to help, probably children around the neighborhood, which is awesome because they had probably been watching Matt build this awesome city and decided that that's something that they wanted to be a part of as well. The rain stopped, the water calmed, the sky cleared, and shining boats appeared on Turtle Lake. And so I want us to remember that picture that we had seen at first with him looking into the water. This one, where is it? This one right here is the exact same picture at the very end. However, there's color, there's more kids in the picture, and he looks a lot happier. And you can see that there's a lot more detail in this one, and they made their own kind of little cities, which is something that we are going to continue talking about throughout the week. So I hope you guys liked that book, and tomorrow we will be reading a very similar book about a boy who creates his own town as well.